also, how interesting is it that I get to talk about you, and I'm just going to pretend you're not here. That's what I'm going to do. So, it's so weird. I just want to say all this to you because I mean it. Jude and I are at that age where we're basically the same age. But once upon a time, I was a very young man getting his driver's license. And the very first movie, once I had my driver's license and was legally able to drive, the very first movie I ever drove myself to see was a movie called Wild, starring Stephen Fry as Oscar Wilde, and this very striking actor who I'd never seen before. A few months later, there he was again, in this incredible science fiction film called Gattaca, and then a month after that, in Midnight in the Garden of Good. I make really hard titles in my movies. That's a hard one. That's a tongue twister. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil People. And I thought to myself, someday, somehow, I am going to work with this actor in not one but two projects in which he will play a pirate who gets up to shenanigans with a bunch of runaway children, whether it's in Neverland or in a galaxy far, far away. But, okay, so I wasn't actually thinking that far ahead. But when the time came to collaborate with Jude, I looked back at my own history of watching him on the big screen and realized how wonderful and rare it is to see an actor and an artist chart their own path before our eyes. I've often been asked, what's it like to work with Jude Law? And the answer is right there in his body of work. You can look at the films he's made and see the curiosity and conviction and care that he brings to each part writ large across his career as a whole. Whether it's Existenz, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Cold Mountain, Sky Captain, The Holiday, Grand Budapest Hotel, or The Nest. And if anyone has not seen The Nest, we should just pause the ceremony right now. Everyone go home and watch it, and I'll wait. We'll wait here. The Nest is incredible. So, yes, go see it. But the fact that Jude learned to sword fight with his left hand when he played Captain Hook for me is indicative of how up for a challenge he is. He never does the same thing twice. He never goes for the easy choice or the safe bets. He approaches his work with humility and kindness, and he commits to a degree that would be daunting if it weren't so inspiring. And on top of all of that, yes, that was the next thing. That was the next thing I was going to say. How did he get a copy of my speech? I don't have anything. I'm done. The fact that Jude learned to sword fight with his left hand when he played Captain Hook for me is indicative of how up for a challenge he is. He commits to a degree that would be daunting if it weren't so inspiring, and he keeps getting better and better and better. Early on, I told Jude that I generally like to do 7 takes, which in any normal circumstance is plenty. But with Jude, it was very hard to stop because I knew that if I would just do one more, he would just find some new bit of nuance, illuminate some new layer that I could never have dreamed of, and I was just always so entertained. I learned more about my own projects, watching my own movies, watching Jude perform these words that we had written on the page. So Jude, I apologize for all those times we went past take 7, but you brought this on yourself. We had so much fun. It was nothing but fun. I have so many stories that I could tell from set, but one of the things that's resonated with me the most is Jude's generosity. As I mentioned, we've done 2 projects that involve large casts of children, and sometimes in between takes, I'd be changing a lens or moving the camera, and I'd see him with the kids playing games, rehearsing the scene, and gently helping them find their way. Witnessing those moments was a gift to them, certainly, for they were all better actors and will be better people for it, but it's to me too, because it was a reminder of how, if we're lucky enough to spend our lives making movies, then the measure of a life well lived is the people we make those movies with. And if I got to work with Jude on every movie I make, that would be a life well lived indeed, but since I can't, I'm grateful that he likes to work as much as he does, because if I'm not working with him, I can rest easy knowing that I'll get to keep watching him. So, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Of course. And now
Now I will leave you. Just stand here.